Jotaro once described Josuke's stand as the most kind and generous ability one could ever have, as in a world where humans thrive off of each other's destruction, Josuke's stand could restore that destruction. Though, ironically, outside of their knowledge lived a 15-year-old girl in Rome, who would go on to demonstrate an ability just as kind, if not kinder than Josuke's, but was branded a witch for it by her classmates, turning her into a school-wide outcast. This girl would then later go on to find herself intertwined with the Joestar family 2 years later, stumbling down a rabbit hole into a massive gang war in Venezia. Her name? Connie, but her friends called her Connie, and she possesses the stand, the cure. Connie is a minor character who plays a major role in the light novel Golden Heart, Golden Ring. She's a 17-year-old Italian woman who has to move from her hometown of Rome to Venezia after a bizarre accident involving her grandmother. Though before we get too deep into this, we should actually discuss the meaning behind her name. So Connie, or Cornelia, gets her name from the Italian word for rabbit. This is both to relate to the fact that Connie plays the role of a rabbit or prey for the Passion Capo, Soila Lopez, and Fugo's Purple Haze, while also possessing a stand that is designed after a rabbit, which sort of plays into an Alice in Wonderland type of theme for her overall character, though we'll cover that later when we talk about her stand. So growing up, Connie was a natural stand user, meaning that she had her stand since she was very young, though like Giorno, she didn't actually understand how it worked or realize that it existed and only used its ability subconsciously. And because of this, Connie actually was able to earn a nickname growing up, which was Connie the Immortal. This was because she would always get into fights with the neighborhood boys and walk away completely unharmed. And over time, her popularity grew along with the control over her stand, right up until about high school, when she used her stand to heal someone else's wound. This in turn freaked out the student and they began to spread rumors about her, and quickly the nickname changed from Connie the Immortal to Connie the Witch. And over the years, Connie would fall out with the people in her area, specifically the ones at her school, which in turn made her decision to take up an offer to replace her late grandmother's position as a maid at a hotel in Venezia a lot easier. And in the time of working there, she actually met Winona, an American tourist, who even after seeing Connie's ability still liked her, and the two of them became great friends. Sadly, she didn't know it at the time, but since this is a JoJo story, Winona was signing her death warrant becoming friends with Connie. This is because Passion would soon catch word of Connie's ability, and decide to use her in their plans to eliminate Bruno's gang. They did so by having Fugo go around and infect people with purple haze near the hotel. Connie would feel responsible for these sick people and would try to save them, which in turn would cause a lot of commotion and get the attention of Bruno's gang. And when they did arrive to investigate, the assassins would pull the trigger on their plans and go full force. Fugo would go down and personally deal with Winona, and when the news of her friend's death reaches Connie, she would lose complete control of her stand and fall unconscious, leaving it to roam in a berserk-esque state, filled to the brim with Purple Haze's virus. Bruno's gang do save her and help her recover inside the St. Mark's Basilio. Along with this, they also help her come to terms with the loss of her friend, and help her regain control over her stand. And after all the fighting is over, Giorno has a sit down with her and discusses that she shouldn't blame herself for what's happened that day, and reminds her that she has an amazingly kind stand, acting as the Jotaro for her Josuke. Taking this advice to heart, she moves from Italy to America in honor of her late friend, so she can both learn to control her stand and to get a second shot at life. Though, speaking of her stand, let's actually talk about that. The Cure is a close range to medium range stand with a rabbit-like design. It's described to have a partly golden-white appearance on its fur, with glowing red eyes and a patch above its right eye that is more gold than the rest of it. Also strewn throughout its body are a multitude of gemstones. Now, all of the Cure's stats are actually unknown, but if I had to make an assumption, I would say none in destructive power, A in speed, C in range, A in durability, C in precision, and B in developmental potential. But again, these are all just shots in the dark. Now, ability-wise, the Cure actually has two known abilities shown by Connie throughout the entirety of Golden Heart, Golden Ring. The first being Healing Cure. Healing Cure is an ability that allows the Cure to absorb any damage, scars, illness, or unpleasant feelings into itself. This cures the target of whatever was ailing them, and it even applies to its user. Though each injury or illness it consumes, it does grow physically larger in size, but if kept in check, after about a day or so, the stand will return to its normal size. Though if Connie is emotionally overloaded and the Cure grows physically out of control, its second ability activates, Healing Curse. This is because the Cure has a finite amount of healing it can do before it starts to leak these said injuries, and when it normally reaches this peak, Connie can stop it, just by telling it to stop consuming injuries. But if she doesn't, or if she's unconscious and it keeps going, it begins to shift into a more humanoid form, which is its berserk form. In this form, all attacks directed at it make it grow larger and stronger. Along with this, anything that enters its range are put at risk to suffer from the injuries that it has consumed. And the only way to stop the stand at this point is to have the stand user calm it. Now, the Cure gets its name from the English rock band The Cure. They got their name from a song written by their original drummer, Lowell Tolhurst, who wrote a song called The Easy Cure, but the band itself found the name too hippie at first, dropping the easy from the name and going with just The Cure, though this idea of an easy cure is found in the stand ability of Connie, as the ability is an easy cure for any injury, illness, or even negative emotion. Another aspect of the stand found within the history of the band is with its creative control. Connie, before the end of Golden Heart Golden Ring, had very little control over her ability, much like in the early stages of the band The Cure's lifespan, where members were actually very upset about their lack of creative control, being forced to play it safe with their first album, which was met with critics calling it, as such, too safe, and the band considers it one of the most disappointing moments in their history. And when they did gain the creative control that they wanted, they were still struggling as a band, as their new image wasn't appealing to the mainstream audience. Much like how when Connie learned to control her stand originally, she used it to help someone else, but was branded as a witch by her whole school. Only after learning to balance the safe and risky songs does the band actually take off, and they made a sort of new creative poppy gothic rock mix, which actually led to some of their most successful songs, like Friday I'm in Love, and not to mention a very unique look for the time. This is reflected in Connie, as when she finally learns to control her stand, she does so by learning not to blame herself for the loss of life that surrounds her, and strive to do what she thinks is best in life, not letting others control her. Another part about the Cure's design that I found kind of interesting, and this is pure speculation I should say, but I find that since because Araki is a big horror movie buff, he might know about a lot of classically bad B horror films. One specifically called Night of the Lepus.
What happened that night science made its greatest mistake? What unknown terror was born that night? That night of the Lepus.
Which is a film all about giant, nearly indestructible killer rabbits. Yes, it's a real movie. I feel like this is kind of reflected in the Cure's overall rabbit themes, as it is just a normal rabbit that grows in size and becomes basically indestructible to the point where it never actually takes damage directly and rages out of control when it gets too big. Though, of course, this could just be a case of me seeing something where there isn't anything, but if it is, god, that's fucking cool, and only Araki could take something as dumb as Night of the Lepus and make it actually intimidating. But another more easily noticeable detail about the Cure's rabbit-like design is the Alice in Wonderland themes in Connie's character. You see, Connie, much like Alice, is led by a strange rabbit into a bizarre world, one where zippers can appear out of nowhere, purple fog murders people, and things just keep disappearing and appearing all over the place. Along with this, she's put on death row by the ruling body of Venezia. Also, when Connie loses her cool during this trial, her stand grows out of control, literally smashing up the place and hurting those around Connie, much like in the courtroom scene where Alice grows herself and overpowers the court, losing her temper and yelling at all of them. And right before anything can happen to either of them, both Connie and Alice wake up from their delusion, taking back control over their life. Lastly, a little interesting detail about Connie and Alice that connects them more is that they both find themselves in their position because of another maid. For Connie, it was the fact that she took up her late grandmother's job as a maid, which then positioned her in Venezia and allowed her to get taken advantage of by Passion, where Alice was mistaken as Marianne, the maid of the White Rabbit, rabbit, who is said to look exactly like Alice and is the reason that the rabbit dragged her along into Wonderland. Now, Connie and the Cure are honestly two of the best additions to Part 5 Golden Wind, and I hope that when the light novel is actually fully translated, that she'll get the love and attention that she deserves. And if you enjoyed this video and like to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MediNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to lose yourself in a Wonderland where porn is free and everyone is happy, you can head on over to Funimation.com/show/Shimonetta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, and buy yourself a copy of Shimonetta.